Today, I will give a brief overview of SYSVIEW Security Basics. SYSVIEW can implement all external security or a combination of internal plus external security. The SYSVIEW administrator has access to the security command, and that's where this is all set up. I will also show you a few examples of how field level and resource level security works in SYSVIEW. So I'm going to execute the security command. And this shows two sections, a user group section and a command group section. I'll start with the user group section. And SYSVIEW comes out of the box with three different user groups. Global, which has all of the definitions that apply to all of the other user groups, and all the defaults are in global, and we don't ever change the global user group. The next one is default. The default user group is what people get that log on to SYSVIEW that are not explicitly defined to any other user group. So, for instance, we have the other user group, admin, and I'm in the admin user group. If I select admin and I go to user ID section, there's a whole list of people who are SYSVIEW administrators. This is my ID. So when I sign on to SYSVIEW, I'm going to be in the admin user group. But if somebody else signs into SYSVIEW and they're not assigned to a specific user group, they're going to get the default user group. And the default user group has a user ID section, but it's empty because that's what everyone gets as a default. Now, to see what user group you're assigned to, just do the users command. And as you can see, I'm assigned to the admin user group, and these other two are in the default. So let me do security again. Now, what I'd like to show you is how SYSVIEW defines and controls what commands you have access to. So I'm going to use the admin user group because that's the one I'm in. So I'm going to select it. And then it has all of these different sections. I showed you the user ID section and that I'm in it. The miscellaneous section is miscellaneous things that you can do. For instance, you can control the timeout value, how many seconds if you're in the update refresh, automatic refresh feature of SYSVIEW. I won't spend too much time on that. Now, the command section is very important because the command section controls what commands you have access to. So I'm going to select the command section, and this is all of the commands, 1,229 commands that the admin group has access to. Now, it's going to tell you right here whether you have access or not. And I as an administrator, can change these from A for access and F to fail. Now, the command group here, when it's blank, that means this command section, the command section we're talking about, controls the access. So, for instance, for the activity summary command, I have access to it. If I change this to fail, I wouldn't have access to it because no command group is assigned. Now, what I want to show you is what the command groups are. So I'm going to go out here and go to the command group section. Now, SYSVIEW comes with many different command groups out of the box. For instance, GSB CICS has 182 commands, and GSB CICS alter has 66 commands. These are the commands that can alter the SYSVIEW system. Now, if I select one of these, like GSB CICS, it shows me all of the commands that are included. See this command here, right here, this column here says this command is included. And if I scroll down here, it'll show me all the commands until we get to the ones that are not included. Now, let's say I wanted to include this command. I can say I here and include it in the group. So all of the commands are in each of these groups, but you either include or exclude the commands. So I'm going to put that back the way it was. Now, what you do with these user groups, and you can create your own, like for instance, I created one called CICS All. I copied it from CICS GSB-A. You don't want to alter the ones that come out of the box that have a description of SYSVIEW, but you can create your own and alter them. And then what you do is you assign these command groups to user groups. And what this allows you to do is reduce the number of staff calls made by making a single call to the command group rather than a call every time a command is entered in SYSVIEW. So for the admin group, we have this command group section here. Now I'm going to select that. I can assign a group to the command group section, like, let's see, GSV, CICS, and I'm going to say fail access. Okay. Now, in order to make that active, I would have to log out of SysView and then log back in. Now, when I go back to the security command, and I go into admin, and I go into the command group section, you can see it's there, GSV CICS fail access. Now, when I go to the command section, I'm going to look at the CICS commands, and there's going to be the command group GSV CICS. That is controlling the access now. So GSV CICS says fail the command. So for these commands here, capless, for instance, I have access. It's not being controlled by a command group. It's being controlled by the command section. So that's how that works. Now, if I were to try to do a CICS command, I'm not authorized, okay? So in order to change that, so if I'm the administrator, or you'd have to go to the SysView administrator, I can go into my admin user group, and I can go into the command group section. I can get rid of this command group, or I can say access. Let's give myself access to that. Anytime you change security, you have to log off and log back on. That includes the administrator and also the user, in case the administrator is doing access for another user. In this case, I'm both the user and the administrator. So now I can do CICS list because I have access again to it. That command group just gave me access. The other thing I wanted to show you is how you can do field level security. So for the admin group, there's another section called command field section, and I'm going to use the activity command as an example. If I select the activity command and the activity screen, SysView can, this is something that external security cannot do. SysView can say, I want to display or not display certain fields. And so this allows me to control it. So right now I have no command field display. So, and also I have any fields that are input fields, I can control whether they can see the field, like dispatching priority here. Can they see the field, and can they change the field? So I am going to show you how to do this. First of all, I'm going to do activity. Okay, as you can see, it does not have a command line because I said don't display it. And right here, dispatching priority is visible, and I can change it since it's highlighted. So I'm going to try to change it right here, and it's going to let me, okay? Now, I'm going to go ahead and abort that, but then I'm going to change it back to F6 again. And I'm going to say, since I'm changing it back to what it was before, I'm going to say yes to confirm. Now, I have access to change dispatching priority. I can see it and I can access it, but I don't have access to the command line. Let me go change that using security for the admin user group. So I'm going to go into admin. I'm going to go into my command field section, to the activity command, to the activity screen. I'm going to say, yes, I want to see the command line now. Okay, please let me see the command line. But I want to see dispatching priority, but I do not want to be able to change it. So I changed that to no. So I'm going to go ahead and log off of SysView so I can make that effective. I'm going to log back on. Do the activity command. So now I can see the command line, okay? But look at dispatching priority. I can no longer change that, okay? I cannot change that anymore. If I try to, it's going to tell me, you know, X-Protect. So that's that. The other thing I wanted to show you is resource level security. Before I go back to the security command, I'm going to do a CI here. I'm going to use the ICE interval control element feature of SysView. I'm going to do CICS next. There's a bunch of ICEs here on this CICS region, D252. I'm going to purge one of them because right now I have access. I'm purge one of these ICEs. I can do that just fine. Now, if I want to see these ICEs, but I don't want to be allowed to purge them, then I can change that in the admin group, just because that's the group I'm in. You can do that for any group. I'm going to go to the resource section, and I'm going to go to the ICE interval control element resource. And this says right here, this equal sign says you have access to all of the ICEs. Okay, now I can change this to DFH equal, or I can change it to a particular ICE, but right now I'm just wildcarding it. This says I have access to it, and I want a message when I do anything on a log. Now the actions say purge. I'm allowed to purge, but let's say I don't want to purge any. I don't want to allow any actions, so I blank out the actions. And there's a list of actions for every resource. I'm going to save that. Again, log off. Log back on. I'm going to go out to CICE. CSS next to get to that region that has all those ICEs. I can still see all the ICEs, and like I said, the ICE name, which is these DF8, I can say DF equal sign and say I only want to be able to see those. But let me try to purge this time. Enter yes to confirm, command not authorized. So that, in a nutshell, is a brief overview of how security works in SysView. One other thing I wanted to say is when you go into one of these user groups, let's say the default one, in order to define the external security, you go to the external security section and give it a SAS entity class name. Right now it's none. You would give it the class name, and that's how you would do internal security. The other thing that you want to make sure that you know how to do external security, you can do assign security in topics, and implementing external security gives you all of the information that you need, an overview, how you create a test user group, how you run the SAS generator utility. You can determine the entity types to bypass. All of the information you need is right here. Thank you very much. Bye.